Okay, hi. Now we're going to do the color correction part once we've imported our photos. First, I get out of the import mode, done, and I get back up here, and you'll see right next to library, and this is our library mode where we can look through these. This is called a contact sheet version, which is like how old photographers did contact sheets, and this is called a film strip here at the bottom. By the way, I can zoom in and out on these if you want. I go to develop. Develop lets me pick the images to put color correction across them. If we look, we have some presets, which we'll talk about later. We have a navigator. The navigator gets us around our image quick. We want to go into 100%. That's pixel by pixel, and we see this is 9,500 by 6,300 pixels, so there's a lot of information there. This fits my image. I also can zoom in and out around here and kind of fish around there. This is very important. This is my histogram. My histogram is basically a graph of all the pixels in my image, meaning it has red, green, and blue values. And down here, these are the darkest red, greens, and blues, and up here, these are the brightest red, greens, and blues. And these peaks are where it's kind of the number of pixels at each of those color values. So when I look at a photo like this one, and I could compare it to this one and this one, you see this gets darker and darker. And I can also see that in the histogram as this is very well spread out, and this is not. By the way, if I hit my backslash key, which I want to say is there, before, after, before, after. So that's what it was originally. That's when I hit the auto button, what it did. And actually, I'm going to just restore it, reset. So this is how it came out of the box, and that's without me hitting the auto button. If I hit the auto button is guessing what you want. And you'll see what it did is it widened out things a bit. Again, if I hit that backslash key, that's what it was. That's what it is. You can see it taking down the highlights. I think I could do a better job. Let's reset. And let's look at our color correction tools a little bit here. I'm going to start here, exposure, because this is a big one. This pushes everything up or everything down. And you'll see my whole histogram spreads out this way. And really, the healthiest photo I could get would have stuff just touching the top and stuff just touching the bottom, and spread out nice and evenly across the whole histogram. This is too dark, though, so I might want to raise my highlights. And you'll see what this will do is this will just shift up the top part, the bright parts. Let's also push our shadows up a little bit into a more mid-range. If I want to go that high. I prefer that. And actually, let's see what that looks like before and after. That's what we were originally, and that's what we're going to. And depending what I want to accentuate, maybe that's good. Maybe I like that. Um, how far can you go? That's a good question. Glad I asked it. Uh, let's look at a much darker photo like this one. This is how this came out of the camera. And you'll see I had a different exposure setting on it. There's ways I can get that info in here, but I'm not going to worry about too much. But you see everything is piled way down here in the bottom. Let's pull up the exposure a lot. And you'll see we still have a lot of value in that photo. So if I wanted to, if I want to compare that to that, and by the way, this is for another project I'm doing, which has to do with depth of field. This image, and you can see a tape measure there. This image has the aperture is shut down to about f8 or f16, so I have more in focus, whereas this is open to f1.8, so much less is in focus. If I was really going to compare these, I'd probably get the colors to compare dead on, although truthfully, my color is much nicer here, I think. Not only that, my bokeh, these blurs over here, That's the blur at f8, and that's a much bigger blurred out area at f1.8. Uh, the more you shut down an aperture, the sharper your images will get, the more will be in focus. But you need more light to make that happen. Um, okay, what else do we have here? We have a lot of things in here, and you can look into them. Color grading. We'll talk more about those particulars later. Detail is a big one. This is new. Super resolution is one of their AI things. So this is going to try to increase the resolution of my image. Uh, it should have brought up a lot of noise when I raised the brightness there, although we'll see. We'll see what that actually does. Wow. And actually, you can see the noise there to some degree. I want to turn super resolution off because I don't entirely trust it. That's 100%. And let me go to the same image over here. I'll go to a more in focus area here, like that. That's a good place to start from. So I'm at 100% in this image here, which is my one with a better exposure. Let's go over to this one. And you'll see, I can see kind of more grainy noise in here. I might actually shoot up our exposure to show off that noise. Yeah, and I'm doing this purposefully, just so you'll see that there's like lines of gritty noise in here. And if I go over to this one, there are not lines of gritty noise in there. So let's take this one and we'll push its exposure too, but I don't need to push it that far. And we can compare those very directly then. Yeah. So when I have to push an image up so much, and remember, if my original image here, that's the wrong one, is very dark. That's the original image. It's that dark. So when I push everything up, I get all this noise popping up in these areas here. I have denoising tools. Manual noise reduction. My guess is, and this is a guess, I'm not going to lie to you. Detail. Oh, that's funny. It won't do it in this one, but it will let me manually do it. Okay. Now you see what that's doing. And how much detail do I want to get back? I want to get back a lot of detail. Now, if I compare it with this one, they're pretty close. If anything, this is less noisy. Although I gave up some brilliance with that. And actually, I should have other tools for, yeah, here we go, vibrance. So I can punch more color out of that. Let's zoom this back out now. That's become a much more lively photo, hasn't it? From that to that, all using the color corrector here. So here's you guys' thing. I had you guys take 100 photos, right? I want you to take 12 of those photos and color correct them. Get them to look as good as you possibly can by going through Lightroom. And then in the next video show you will output those and we will share those online, okay?